It's time. Yes. Look at this face. Look at me. Smiling. You know why? Because this is SEL0320, and I just witnessed and watched The Amazing Spider-Man 2. Finally. It's been a long time coming. Like, I've gone through being sick all this week. I've gone through not posting anything up. I've gone through watching people that I know and care about go and look at this movie. And now, finally, at long last, I was able to not only watch it in regular, but IMAX 3D. So without further ado, I'm gonna let you know what I thought about this amazing Spider-Man. This is what I thought about. No, I'm just playing. Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and get into it. So off the gate, like I normally do, I'm gonna dissect this from a visual standpoint, along with the orchestrated score, a character dissection, along with the acting, and then the story-driven. So when I think about Spider-Man 2 in comparison to the first one, with the look and the feel, the first one, it had a lot of authentic, believe it or not, actual practical stunt men actually going and swinging around and doing certain things. And it was really such a nostalgic kind of feel. It was like reintroduction of Peter Parker and making it believable that he's actually doing these kind of things, from when he's on the subway sequence the first time he's experiencing his powers to the later on time when he's actually fighting and actually swinging and trying to catch Uncle Ben's killer. It's just really interesting, but this one brings it to a whole nother level. When I say that, I mean when you see Andrew Garfield in this one and he's flying through the air, when you're looking and you're like, wow. And I mean, it's just a spectacle to witness. I mean, the sound editing is awesome and the visuals are awesome. When you see Spider-Man rolling through the streets and moving, it's just amazing to see. I highly recommend you go to see this in IMAX 3D. This you're gonna do yourself a disservice by looking in normal. I'm glad I looked at it in IMAX 3D because there are certain effects that happen. Of course, when Electro is on the scene, of course, when Peter is flying as Spider-Man, it's amazing, but just visually, the scope of everything is just awesome. Ambient noises, when there's an explosion, when there's gunfire, it's just amazing to actually watch and witness. And so when I was looking at it, like I was looking at the scope of New York, and it's just a beautiful look of New York. But when you're actually at Oscorp, when you're seeing like Harry and Peter interact for the first time, and you're watching him like move down from a certain location and talking to him, it's just great camera angles, but at the same time, it's great visual scope for everything. And there wasn't no point that I wasn't like wowed by things. I mean, when you first see Electro, two things will sign out for you. And I'm not talking about Max Dillon. Max Dillon, you'll notice when well, I'll talk about the score part of it. When you look at Max Dillon for the first time, there's a certain score for Jamie Foxx's character that is very interesting. You hear a lot of chatter and talking. You're thinking like, what in the world is all this? But it evolved into something interesting. It tells his story. A lot of people have missed this in the reviews that I've heard. A lot of people say, no, they rushed it, they did this. If you really listen to the score and the things that's going through Max's mind, and by the time he's Electro, when you first see him walking through the streets, it is the most gripping thing ever. And it's so scary to a degree, but it's just more so like epic, because the things that Electro evolves into, it's just, I've never seen anything like it. I mean, the comparable thing to it, which is interesting, I was looking at Watchmen today, and I think about Mr. Manhattan. And I mean, it brings it to that level, but on a more cool basis, because with Mr. Manhattan, there was some things that like it bugged me. For one, he was nude, and then for two, he could do anything and everything. Like, there are limitations to Electro in this, but it's just amazing to see. And when you see Peter interacting with Electro and then another villain later on, and then I mean, it's just awesome to witness. It's a beautiful movie. 9.0. I'll say a 10. Visually a 10. Now, the musical score in this one by Hans Zimmer, I mean, yeah, everybody's heard the Kendrick Lamar, Alicia Keys, and Hans Zimmer song. Yes, everybody's heard that. But this score is beautiful. Like, when I looked at it and I was listening to the movie, I was like, this is awesome. I mean, there's certain offsetting times where I was like, man, what is this? This doesn't fit. But when you think of a true comic book movie, or what our comic book movie is supposed to be. When you have something coming from a comics coming to this, it's like it's supposed to be times where Spider-Man is supposed to feel like the hero. You know, it's supposed to be a epic kind of theme that's got inspiration to it. And when there's somber scenes, of course you're gonna hear it and you're gonna feel it. And I will buy this soundtrack. I really like the soundtrack for this one, especially Electro, especially Harry's theme, and especially all the other normal times where you see the action sequences. It's just interesting because it tells a story. But with the Electro, I've never seen anything or heard anything like how they've done it. So, I mean, hands down for me, the soundtrack at least gets a 9.0, and then the visual effects get a 10.0. So now I'm going to go on to the acting. You've got Andrew Garfield, you've got Emma Stone, you've got Jamie Foxx, you've got Dane DeHaan, you've got... Who else? You got Sally Field. I mean, you got Paul Giamatti. It was a well acted movie. Okay, so y'all know, y'all see my review. I love Sam Raimi's Spider-Man. I loved them. I love Tobey Maguire. I like Kristen Dunst. I said like. I love James Franco. I thought James Franco and Tobey Maguire were the best actors in the show, other than William Dafoe and Alfred Molina. This cast, everybody is on a whole different kind of level, and especially on this movie. A lot of people are gonna criticize the way that Jamie Foxx says certain things, and like, why is this character like this? Jamie Foxx has been doing characters like this for years, but this is on a different kind of scale, because when he goes through like his old Jamie Foxx show, he'll act in different characters, but this is a whole different thing. But I'm gonna go in order. First of all, Andrew Garfield is Spider-Man. Like, when you think of Henry Cavill, when you think of Michael Keaton, when you think of who else? I mean, I don't even want to go down the lines, but when you think of Michael Keaton, you think of Batman. He played the best role of the entrepreneur, rich man, Bruce Wayne, and the menacing epic that is Batman. That'll always live in my mind. I've always loved Christian Bale, yes, but it's a difference. And this is the same thing when it comes to Tobey Maguire versus Andrew Garfield. Andrew Garfield plays the role of the geekiest, funniest, and just sarcastically crazy guy that has a love for people, that has a love for this girl, that has a love for the city and a need to protect it, but at the same time, like, he's dealing with his own personal life and all the inner turmoils that he's battling, and you see it on his expressions, and you can feel it through his bones when he's actually acting as Spider-Man. He is the funniest thing ever. I was laughing. Most everybody that was around me was just laughing out loud at what Andrew Garfield was talking about. I mean, in different levels, because every time he was talking with Aunt May, and it was one scene, and he got caught because he had his costume on, he put the covers over, he's like, and this is not really a spoiler because you can see it in the trailers. He was saying, oh man, I'm naked right now, and she's like, what's wrong with your face? He said, I was cleaning the chimney. She's like, we don't have a chimney. He's like, yeah, but this is he's just hilarious. But then when you got like Spider-Man, there was a scene where, this is a small spoiler, there was a scene where Spider-Man was working and trying to stop something, and all of a sudden everybody's like, is there a report of where Spider-Man is? We cannot find, does anybody have a visual on Spider-Man? All of a sudden you look and you pop up, he's right next to the fire squad with the fire helmet on. It's just so funny. He's the funny, epic, awesome Spider-Man. He is, to me, the best Spider-Man. You can tell there's a devotion and a love to the character. And then I'm going to go on to Emma Stone as Gwen Stacy. Emma Stone plays Gwen Stacy to a T. If you know the comics, you understand what I mean by that. And there's a whole nother elegance about her character too, because she got an interesting story arc in this one, different than the first one. And she's evolved and she's different. And I mean, comparing her to Kristen Dunst's character eventually evolved into, and this might be with the scripting, but Kristen Dunst, Mary Jane, evolved into this kind of whining, kind of, it's like trying to make somebody jealous kind of thing. Gwen doesn't do that. Gwen Stacy loves Peter Parker, and it is awesome to see. It's beautiful to watch. And I mean, she's got such a love and devotion for him that she'll do what she has to do. She's not going to try to make him jealous with some other guy. She's not going to go and put her life in danger just to do it. She's going to do it because she loves him. She cares about him. She just contagiously wants to be around him, but she also knows that she has to share him. But he thinks that there's an imbalance because of what happened with Gwen's father. And it's interesting how everything plays a role. And by the last hour of movie, like, I mean, between Andrew Garfield and Emma Stone's roles in that last hour of the movie, it's just beautiful to watch. Like, just seriously, it's really beautiful to watch. Going into Jamie Foxx's character, I'm gonna try to roll through these quick. Jamie Foxx, he did a great job. He did a great job. The only thing that I will say that I would like to have known more about Max, but when you understand the where Max is mentally and where he is emotionally and the self-esteem level that he does not have, you will understand where all this anger is coming from. And when you have been brought through an extreme surgery, just like if somebody falls and hurts themselves and breaks every bone in their body, when they are already dealing with emotional stuff, if you are the type that gets hurt and you are dealing with emotional stuff, the anxiety is going to hit you. Anxiety is going to be worse because you're going to prey on your own worst fears. And that is a byproduct of what's going on with Max. And so when you see his character going through the things he's going through and the actions that he's doing, it's like you kind of feel bad for him. But at the same time, you understand that there's something wrong here. And so I think that Jamie did a great job. I mean, I think that by the end of it, I'm not going to say, I can't spoil anything, but by the end of it, it's just an interesting climax. Epic fight. And then you got Harry Osborn played by Dane DeHaan. Harry is Dane DeHaan. I love James Franco. I love James Franco's Harry Osborn, but the way that Dane DeHaan carried this character is awesome because he plays the rich kid that gets everything, but at the same time has daddy issues, yes, but it's deep-seated. It's not like openly shown. You can't really see the interaction, but a small moment with him interacting with Norman for the first time. And I mean, even then, it's a lot of manipulation and a lot of darkness there, but it's such a purity when you see his interaction with Peter for the first time, and Dane he just carries it, man. I mean, Chronicle, Beyond the Pine, I mean, Lawless. I mean, the boy can act, but from what I understood in the interview, that he had to beg and plead just to be Harry Osborn. But the thing is, he's got just as much, if not the same amount of devotion that Andrew Garfield has for Peter with the Goblin or with Harry or whatever he's gonna eventually become. But it was just awesome to watch, like his interaction and even like the fight scenes that he does in this one. Even if they're short, they play key moments. They're just epic. And so he does. It's not like he doesn't have a lot of screen time. He does have a lot of screen time. And so I mean, I'm not gonna nitpick like everybody else. So I really enjoyed him in this role. Sally Field, Sally. I'll be honest with y'all. Only movie that I really remember from Sally is Mrs. Doubtfire. I remember her being upset with her as a little kid, like, why can't you accept Mrs. Doubtfire? But she plays such an amazing pivotal role in this movie, and it's very interesting because it plays on the fact that you don't think about what really is going on in Aunt May's mind, that she's lost the love of her life, like she's barely making it financially. I mean, with the older ones, you saw it, but with this one, there's a point where she actually just breaks down and talks to Peter, and it's just a beautiful scene. And there's another beautiful scene that Emma Stone does, and it's the speech that she does, and it's a beautiful speech. It's such a beautiful speech. The final 30 minutes are just It's awesome to watch. It's awesome to watch, and by the end of it, it ends in comic book fashion. So, like I said, the acting all around, I really love the acting. I give the acting at least an 8.5. Now, when you get to the story I knew going into it, it wasn't gonna be like the Pulitzer. I didn't think it was gonna be like an Oscar-nominated like story, but I knew Marc Webb would stay true to the mythology, and the director Marc Webb does that. In that. Every comic book, when you read a comic book, your anticipation is what happens next. It's not about like a regular movie. A regular movie, sometimes it has a resolve, sometimes it has a sequel, sometimes it leads into stuff, sometimes it doesn't, you know? But a comic book, a true comic book, when you're reading it, if you're reading like a Venom comic book, if you're reading like a Spider-Man comic book, if you're reading like a Batman comic book, your wonder is, who is that next villain? Why did this happen? Who is that person? And that is what this is all about. Because in the first one, you had the issue of going on with his dad and his mom and him trying to figure out what happened with everything. You get information about that in this one. He gets the answers that he thought that he knew and needed to know, but it still raises more questions that he's not aware of, but us as the audience are. Like, there's a playing sequence in the beginning of the movie, and it features like Peter's parents, and it's very interesting because if any of y'all know the comic book origin of it, like, they can stay to the mythology so well with how they did it visually. And I mean, breaking out into that, I mean, just the relationship between Gwen and Peter, like, that's also coming from the first one. Like, it's like, are they, aren't they? Are they, aren't they? And that plays into this one. And that's what comic book movies are supposed to be about. It's about going from one comic and you go into the next. This is what's happening from what happened before, you know? And I mean, to me, like, their relationship, it goes on, off, but it's like, it's interestingly real, and it's real purity, and it's real issues that are really happening. And every person that's involved within the story, it plays an intricate web in what's supposed to be, which is a fundamental value that everybody has a need and a yearning to have hope. And now that's what Spider-Man's role is for the city. And can he do that? Can a boy that has so much pain and so much loss really give hope to a hopeless city, you know? And it's just so interesting, and I really enjoyed it. A lot of people will say that it was too much cluttered in. It was like too many things that were built up for the next one. Yeah, fine, that's okay with me. I wasn't looking for the perfect craft. I was looking for something that was entertaining, that was action-packed, that kept me intrigued, and that gave that to me all the time during this movie. There were times, yes, there was a lot of drama. There were times where, yes, there was subtle moments between just Gwen and Peter, and there was times where there was action and it was on point, you know? And that's fine with me. That's fine with me, because come time when the third one comes out, I can see more. I don't care about having everything in bulk in this one. Even if they did try to come back some things, I felt like it was a perfect kind of ending, because now, like, I'm anticipating more villains. Like, there's actually a character in there, spoiler alert, that is maybe cat-like, and there's also a person in there that, spoiler alert, created the Spider Slayers. So, I mean, you got a lot of eye candy, you got a lot of, what are they called? Easter eggs, all in this movie, that for me as a superhero fan, I was just like, oh, this is awesome. And I mean, it's just, looking at it again, I will look at this movie again. I know I'm going to even appreciate it even more, because each time you watch something like this, you're going to catch something that you missed. And for me, I really enjoyed how they did it. It wasn't the best storyline, again, like I said, but I would have to give the storyline at least an 8.0, because it brought everything full circle from the first one, but it spun a whole different web into something brand new. And by the end of it, you don't know what is going to come from it, because there is not really an end credit scene, but there is a scene. Now, if you go to the movie, I highly recommend you go and download an application called Shazam. Shazam is an application that allows you to see, like, music for your any person that has, like, music. it's playing, you don't know the name of it, it'll listen to it and it'll tell you what it is. If you do that during the end credits of this, it'll show you a scene that specifically are key and point certain villains that are gonna be in the third one. You don't know that because you're just looking at like the screen and it's got the people's names and stuff like that. But I did that and I was able to see this video. And so that's my only spoiler that I'm gonna give for y'all. I highly recommend Spider-Man 2, The Amazing Spider-Man. It just, like I said, I'm smiling. I really took heart and enjoyed it. I didn't look at all the reviews and thought negatively. I actually thought positively because that gave me more fuel to look at and dissect before I even got there. And there's one scene that I thought about that I thought that, man, it was really awesome for Emma Stone's character to do. She had said at one point, "You're Spider-Man," and I love that. But I love Peter Parker more, and he needed to know that and hear that. It was like planting a seed that is going to be foreshadowing for something else that he needs to know by the end of the movie. And like I said, her speech is, oh gosh. But I could keep going on and on about this. If there's anything else that y'all want to know that maybe I can reveal to y'all or talk about, then please leave your comments at the bottom. If you liked my video, please leave a like at the bottom. Thanks for everybody that's been subscribing. Thanks for all the prayers for everybody that's been trying to keep me up from having the flu. It's been an interesting week, but I had to finish it off by looking at The Amazing Spider-Man 2, and I got to do that. The 3D was awesome. The fight sequences are epic. Every fight sequence is just like, wow, what is that? And then the drama is real. It's real drama. It's not like with a lot of the campish kind of other ones with the Sam Raimi series. Like, the things that are going on is real. And then another thing, the last thing I'll say is that I remember in the Spider-Man, what was it, 2? And Spider-Man was going and helping somebody, and something happened. And it was a black girl that she had said, "It's a web." And then you see Spider-Man flowing through. She said, "Go, Spidey, go!" it isn't like that. It isn't that corny. Like, you see, like, there's a police officer. He's trying to secure an area, and you see Jamie Foxx's character in the middle of the city with electricity all around him. He's freaking out. It's not like play acting. It's real acting, and it's not a dark tone. It's just real, and that's what it needs to be. It needs to be a transfer from the comics to the reality, and that's what they did in this one, and that's why I really loved it. And dare I say, this is a lot better than even Spider-Man 1 to me. I think it's right there next to Spider-Man 2 for me, actually. So, without further ado, this is SCL0320 signing out. Hope you enjoyed the review. Leave your comments below. Later, y'all. Deuces.